Crowds gathered at Gossington Hall. Lady Bantry stood at the centre. Her smile looked fixed, but her eyes moved fast. She greeted, nodded, and whispered to each guest. Miss Marple sat in her chair. Her knitting rested in her lap. She looked calm, but her eyes searched faces, not threads. Mrs. Pierce poured lemonade, her apron tight, her words quick. She told everyone about her lemons. She liked to boast of her recipe. Claude Denham checked his parcel. Soap flakes for the Christmas stall. He touched the knot twice. His movements seemed precise, almost rehearsed. Sylvia stood beside him. Her eyes caught everything. She said little, her hands folded tight. Young Tom Briggs carried chairs. He moved quietly. His socks showed through dust. He kept his head down. Mr. Harrow pushed into groups. He spoke of church funds. He pressed questions into every conversation. Faces grew tight when he approached. Mr. Ambrose Caro smiled broadly. A man of money and big plans. He praised the village. He talked of improvement. He spoke too much, too fast. Miss Marple's eyes narrowed. She saw shoulders stiffen when Caro spoke. She saw polite smiles cover irritation. Country people did not welcome change. Lady Bantry sighed once. Her fan moved in her hand. She watched Claude drop a spoon. She watched Tom pick it up. Mrs. Pierce laughed loudly. Her jug dripped lemon water. A silver cup glinted on a nearby table. She touched it proudly. Miss Marple leaned closer to Lady Bantry, her voice low. "Crowds show more than they hide," she said. Lady Bantry smiled without answering. Children ran past. They tugged at ribbons on the fake tree. Claude scolded them quickly. Sylvia's eyes flashed sharper than his words. "Mr." Caro clapped Tom's shoulder. He asked about land. Tom stammered. He shifted in his socks. Marple caught the tremor. Claude bent near his parcel again. His fingers pulled the string loose. Sylvia leaned closer and tied it back. Their eyes did not meet. Miss Marple shifted her knitting. She saw Mrs. Pierce wipe her brow. She saw Harrow interrupt her stall. Pierce frowned but poured again. Caro laughed too loud. His words rolled over everyone. Plans for cottages. Plans for shops. No one answered him directly. Slack voices filled the air, but under them lay unease. Marple heard it. She always heard it. Lady Bantry touched her friend's arm. "Too hot," she whispered. Marple nodded, but she thought of faces. Caro checked his watch. He excused himself quickly. He walked across the lawn, his steps aimed for the summerhouse. Miss Marple's needles clicked once. Her eyes followed him. She felt a prickle of warning. Caro disappeared into the summerhouse. A cry broke across the lawn. Heads turned. Tom Briggs ran forward, his face pale, his hands shook. "Lady Bantry," he called. "Come quickly. It's Mr. Caro." He stumbled over his words. "He's in the summerhouse. He's not moving." Guests froze. Whispers spread. Lady Bantry dropped her fan, her lips pressed thin. She hurried after Tom. Miss Marple rose slowly. Her knitting slipped back into the basket, her eyes sharp. She followed behind. The summerhouse loomed at the far end. The door was closed. Lady Bantry reached first. Her hand trembled on the latch. "It's shut. Always open in summer," she muttered. Tom pointed at the window. "I saw him inside," he whispered. He was in the chair, his eyes open. He didn't move. His socks rubbed on the stone. He swallowed hard. Inspector Slack pushed through the crowd, red-faced, breath heavy. "What's this nonsense?" he barked. "Boy says there's an accident," Lady Bantry answered. Slack pulled at the latch. It held firm. "Locked from inside," he said with relief. Heart gave way, no doubt. Heat does that, especially with city folk. Dr. Haydock arrived next, his bag in hand. He peered through the glass. "Yes," he said slowly. "He's gone. Sitting straight, but gone." Slack frowned. "See? Nothing suspicious. Just nature." He pressed at the door. It resisted. He grunted. Haydock shook his head. "Not so fast. He sits too neatly. No spasm. Not like heart failure." He looked serious. Slack waved him off. Lady Bantry fetched the spare key. But the latch still barred the door. Slack forced it. The wood splintered, the air inside heavy. Caro sat in the wicker chair, head tilted, eyes fixed, hands slack, a jug and glass on the table beside him. Slack stepped back. Lemonade. Heat. Weak heart. That's it. He pulled a notebook. Case closed, he said firmly. Doctor. Haydock bent over the body. He sniffed. His face tightened. Odd smell. Not right. Not natural, he muttered. Lady Bantry shivered. She looked at Miss Marple. Marple's eyes swept the floor. Her gaze settled on the matting. Her lips pressed thin. White flakes dusted the floor. They gathered around Caro's shoes. Not dust, not ash. Artificial snow, scattered too evenly. Miss Marple bent closer, her voice low. Soap flakes, she murmured. Her eyes stayed on the shoes. She whispered, "Why are they here?" "Snow inside," Lady Bantry whispered. Her eyes moved from floor to chair. Artificial flakes lay scattered. They covered the matting in neat drifts. They rested on the dead man's shoes. Too neat, too even. Miss Marple bent low. Her fingers hovered above the flakes. She did not touch them. She only looked. Inspector Slack frowned. "Nothing strange," he said. "Carried in on someone's boots. Children running in and out. Common sense." Marple's eyes stayed on the latch. Brass shone in the dim light. White dust sat on top of it. Unmoved, undisturbed. "Interesting," she murmured, her voice too soft for Slack. But Haydock heard. He bent to see. His brows drew tight. Locked from inside. Flakes on top. Marple said, "They were dropped after it was shut. That means timing matters." Slack waved his hand. "You imagine too much. He died in heat. Drank lemonade. Fell still. That's all." Haydock shook his head. "I don't like it," he muttered. "His posture wrong. His face wrong. And there's an odor. Not sweat. Something sharper." Lady Bantry pressed her handkerchief to her lips. She looked from Doctor to Marple. Fear crept into her eyes. Marple turned to the table. The jug sat heavy, half empty. A glass beside it. Drops marked the wood. Slack tapped his notebook. Lemonade. He drank alone. No mystery. The heat explains the rest. Haydock muttered again. Not natural. The color in his face. The smell. Something chemical. Marple lifted the glass carefully. She peered at the rim. Sticky residue clung. She replaced it without comment. Her eyes caught a gleam. A silver cup lay on the floor, its side dented, its engraving clear. "Best lemon curd," it read. Lady Bantry gasped. "That is Mrs. Pierce's prize. She won it last month. Why is it here?" Slack scribbled fast. "Cup fell. No link. Coincidence." But his voice carried less force. Marple's knitting bag still hung on her arm. Her hand rested on it. Her eyes never left the flakes. Tom Briggs stood silent by the door, his socks grey with dust. He stared at the floor, not the body. Sylvia Denham's face tight, her eyes sharp as needles. She looked at the parcel Claude carried, her lips pressed closed. Claude shifted uneasily. His parcel hugged to his chest. He would not meet Marple's gaze. Marple spoke gently. "Locks lie. Flakes lie. Faces lie." She looked at the still man in the chair. Her eyes held sadness, not shock. She whispered, "Not natural causes. Strange impressions," Marple said softly, her eyes fixed on the floor. The flakes told a story, not random, not careless. She pointed with her knitting needle. "Look here." Men's. Shoes. Large treads pressed deep. Near the chair. Near the door. She moved further along. Another set. Narrower. A woman's boots. Heel marks plain. Edges sharp. Her gaze shifted again. Here. Ribbed marks. Not leather. Not rubber. Lines neat. Faint pressure. Like stocking feet. Slack grunted. People walked in and out all day. Children. Helpers. Nothing to see. He wrote half-heartedly in his notebook. Dr. Haydock crouched. He looked closer. "These are odd," he said. "Too light, too deliberate." Tom Briggs shuffled nervously. His hands rubbed together. "I may have left them," he whispered. "I was working. I had no boots. Just socks." Slack seized on it. "There you are," explained. "The boy left them." He shut his notebook with a snap. Marple shook her head, her tone calm. Too neat for chance. Too, even for work. Not the stumble of a gardener. More like placement. As if staged. Tom's cheeks flushed. "I swear, miss, I never played games. I never made marks on purpose." His voice cracked. Sylvia Denham stood nearby, her arms folded, her eyes followed Tom's every move, her gaze sharp, piercing. Claude Denham shifted uncomfortably. His parcel slipped in his grip. Soap flakes brushed the floor. He muttered under his breath. Lady Bantry touched Marple's sleeve. "Do you believe the boy?" Marple did not answer. Her eyes stayed on the flakes. Haydock frowned again. "Somebody wanted these prints noticed," he said. "They almost point to the boy. But too perfect. A trap, maybe." Slack scoffed. "Trap? Rubbish. You see mysteries everywhere." But his eyes avoided Marple's. He wiped his brow again. Tom's voice rose. "I didn't do it. I never entered the house till now." He looked at Lady Bantry. She gave him a faint nod. Marple bent low once more. Her spectacles slid down her nose. She studied one ribbed mark carefully. Her lips pressed thin. The line of the tread, too straight. The pressure too even. Not the shuffle of socks, but the impression of someone careful. She rose slowly. Her eyes swept the room. Claude's face pale. Sylvia's jaw clenched. Marple's hands folded over her knitting bag. Her voice low. "Truth hides in powder," she said, "but powder does not lie for long." She looked at Tom. Her face softened. She looked at Sylvia. Her eyes sharpened. Marple murmured, "False evidence. Bitterness in glass," Dr. Haydock said. He lifted the tumbler. He sniffed. His face tightened. "Insecticide traces," he added quietly. Inspector Slack frowned. "Nonsense. It's lemonade. The heat killed him, not poison." But his eyes avoided Haydock. Marple leaned closer to the jug, her hand steady. She touched the rim lightly. Her fingers came away sticky. She peered at the residue. "Odd," she murmured. "Not natural sugar. Something else mixed in." Her gaze sharpened. Mrs. Pierce stepped forward quickly, her voice high. "My recipe is safe, always safe. I've served it for years. Never harm, never sickness." Slack pointed his pencil at her. "You prepared it. You poured it. Maybe you slipped. Maybe you added something wrong." Her cheeks flushed. "I squeezed fresh lemons. 2 dozen. Best from Harris's shop. Sugar measured. Water boiled. I added zest, just as always." Marple's eyes narrowed. "Zest?" she asked softly. "Yes. Yellow strips from rind," Pierce replied firmly. She lifted her chin. Marple studied the jug again. She tilted it against the light. Thin strips floated, but not yellow. Pale, almost white. "White zest," Marple said. "Not rind. Bitter pith." Her voice calm, her words sharp. Haydock leaned over her shoulder. He nodded slowly. "Bitter pith hides other flavors. Yes. Clever cover for something strong. Very clever." Slack shifted uneasily. So someone tampered. Not her fault, then. Someone touched it after. Claude Denham cleared his throat. He stepped forward with nervous pride. Too many hands about. Too many helpers. Anyone could have slipped near the stall. She cannot watch every jug. Sylvia Denham's eyes flickered toward him, sharp, controlling. She said nothing. Tom Briggs edged closer. He looked pale again. His eyes darted to the jug. He licked dry lips but did not speak. Lady Bantry pressed her handkerchief to her face. She turned to Marple. Her voice hushed. "Jane, do you believe it?" Marple did not answer. Her eyes stayed on the white flakes inside. Her lips moved faintly. Not right. Not her recipe. Changed after. "Mrs." Pierce's voice trembled now. I never left it alone. Not long. Only a moment here and there. Someone must have waited. Slack wrote quickly. We'll list all who touched the refreshment area. We'll find who tampered. But his tone lacked force. Claude folded his arms. He stared at the jug. His foot tapped the floor. He did not look up. Marple's hands folded neatly. Her eyes softened on Mrs. Pierce. You take pride in your work. That pride has been misused, she said gently. Mrs. Pierce gasped suddenly. Her hand flew to her apron. My silver cup, she cried. It was stolen this morning. It should be at home. Her voice broke. How did it come here? Claude hesitates, Miss Marple noted softly. His hands clutched the parcel. Inspector Slack's eyes narrowed. What have you there? He barked. Claude stepped back. Nothing important. Just supplies for the stall. His voice thin, his shoulders stiff. Slack reached forward. Hand it over. Now. Claude resisted. He hugged the bundle tighter. Sylvia's voice cut sharp. Leave him be. It's village property. No concern of yours. But her eyes betrayed tension. Slack moved fast. He tore the parcel from Claude's arms. Paper crinkled. White flakes spilled out. Soap flakes, Slack muttered. He lifted a handful. They sparkled faintly. The smell drifted. Lavender. Strong. Dr. Haydock frowned. Same scent as the jug, he whispered. Not natural snow. Staged. Claude's lips quivered. It's for the Christmas stall. We use it for plays. Theatrical effects. His words tumbled. He would not meet anyone's eyes. Sylvia stepped forward quickly, her tone firm. I tied that parcel. Left-handed knot. My work, not his. She lifted her chin. Her gaze dared contradiction. Marple adjusted her spectacles. She studied the knot. Left-handed indeed, but her face stayed calm, her eyes unimpressed. Knots tell stories, she murmured, her words soft, her meaning sharp. Slack dropped the flakes on the table. They don't prove murder, they don't prove guilt, just props. But doubt crept into his tone. Tom Briggs shifted near the door. His hands rubbed nervously. His eyes darted between Claude and Marple. He swallowed hard. Lady Bantry whispered to Marple. Do you suspect them? Her silence spoke louder than words. Claude tried again. It's harmless. Only soap, a showpiece for children. But his foot tapped fast. His voice cracked. Sylvia glared at him. Say nothing more, she hissed, her control over him clear. But cracks showed at the edges. Haydock leaned closer to Marple. Same flakes on the latch, same smell. This links them, he muttered. Slack scowled. Circumstance only. You cannot hang a man for soap flakes. But he would not look at Claude again. Marple folded her hands, her eyes gentle. Even simple things hold truth. Even soap can mark guilt, she said softly. Claude wiped his brow. His lips moved, but no sound came. He looked smaller than before. He looked cornered. Sylvia touched his arm, her face calm, but her fingers gripped too tight. Control dressed as comfort. Tom's breath came, quick. He could not stay silent. His voice burst out. I saw him, he cried. I saw him practicing with strings. Silence followed Tom's words. Hands rehearsing, Marple repeated. Her eyes rested on Tom. Show us what you mean. Tom swallowed. He lifted his hands. His fingers moved in, pulling motions. Up, down, steady, like drawing a chord, like working a stage prop. He repeated it twice. Then again, slower. Slack frowned. What foolishness is this? He waves his arms and we waste time. Haydock leaned closer. Number, look at the motion. Smooth, precise. This is practiced. Claude's face turned pale. He licked his lips. It's nothing. The boy imagines. Children see tricks where none exist. His voice unsteady. His eyes darted. Tom shook his head. No, sir. I saw you near the Summerhouse. You pulled at strings. Like this. Same motion. Over and over. Sylvia cut in, her voice sharp. My husband rehearses for plays, always practicing tricks. You can't build guilt from rope and soap. Marple's gaze stayed calm, her tone quiet. Plays end when curtains fall. But curtains hide many acts before that. Claude stammered. I prepared props, yes, for the fate. For children, not for murder. He looked at Slack for support. Slack scowled. Enough of pantomime. We need proof, not gestures. Show me something real. Marple leaned on her stick, her eyes sharp. Proof hides in plain sight. Look at the latch. Look at the cord. A play indeed, but not for children. Sylvia's hands tightened at her sides. Her composure strained, her lips pressed tight. She spoke slower now. You accuse us too easily. Soap, cord, stage motions none mean poison. Haydock shook his head. Too many links, flakes, scent, jug. Now this. Someone staged a locked room. Slack rubbed his jaw. He muttered, Coincidence still counts. We can't arrest on tricks. But his eyes avoided Claude. Tom's voice trembled. I swear I saw it. His hands worked again and again, pulling, like lifting a curtain cord. His cheeks flushed, his voice cracked. Claude tried to laugh. The sound false. He waved his hand weakly. Imagination. Boy's been in the sun too long. Marple's words cut through. Sunday fades, but memory does not. Her eyes met Tom's, her nod small, her belief firm. Lady Bantry whispered beside her, Jane, do you truly think him guilty? Marple did not answer. Her lips pressed thin, her silence enough. Sylvia's eyes flickered. Her control slipped. She grabbed Claude's arm hard. He winced. He tried to shake her off. Slack stamped his foot. This is nonsense. Boys' tricks. Nothing more. But his voice wavered. Marple bent her head, her words soft. Even nonsense leaves trails, and trails lead to truth. Tom reached into his pocket nervously. Something slipped loose. A packet dropped to the floor. The paper tore. Sand spilled out. All eyes turned to the sand at Tom's feet. Sand, not seeds, Marple said, her eyes fixed on the scattered grains. Tom bent quickly. He scooped what had spilled. It's mine, he blurted. For the trellis repair. I use it with cement, nothing else. Slack folded his arms. You carry sand in a seed packet. Odd habit, boy. Tom flushed. I had nothing else to hold it. I borrowed the packet. It was lying about. In the shed. Haydock frowned. Which shed? Tom hesitated. He looked at Claude, then at Sylvia. Finally, his voice cracked. The Denim's shed. Claude keeps sand there for props. I only took a little. Claude's head jerked up. Nonsense. I don't keep sand. Not mine. His hand tugged at his collar, his lips thin. Sylvia spoke coldly. Yes, he does keep sand. For weights, for the curtains in the parish hall. You use it, Claude. Don't deny what they all know. Claude stiffened. His jaw worked. He gave no answer. Marple knelt slowly. She let the fine powder run through her fingers. Not builder's sand. Too fine, too clean, prepared for stage use. Her tone even, her eyes sharp. Haydock crouched beside her. Yes, not for trellis, for props, to steady scenery, to weigh down cloth. His face grim. Slack scowled. So props again. Always back to props. Snow, cords, sand. A play indeed. But who wrote it? Claude muttered. Anyone could use it. Not only me. The shed is open. People come and go. Sylvia's head snapped toward him. Fool. Say less. You make it worse. Her hands clenched tight. Tom stepped back nervously. I swear I only took a little. For honest work. Not for tricks. Lady Bantry whispered to Marple. Do you believe the boy? Marple's gaze softened on Tom, her voice quiet. He speaks with fear, not craft. Fear of being caught where he should not be, but not fear of guilt. Claude's eyes darted. His foot scraped the floor. He shifted his parcel again. Sylvia glared at him. You see? Weakness. He always shows weakness. Her words cut like knives. Haydock stood. He brushed sand from his hands. This links again to the flakes, all from stage stores, all pointing to the same quarter. Slack grunted. I see trails, but no proof. Props don't kill, poison does, and we've yet to catch who poured it. But doubt filled his eyes. Marple's hands folded gently, her voice calm. Props don't kill, but props hide hands that do, and sand hides truth beneath its grains. Sylvia snapped. Enough of this nonsense. You accuse without cause, every trifle twisted, every grain a crime. Marple looked up slowly, her eyes steady, her lips pressed thin, her words soft. She whispered, more staging than truth. Wrong not, Marple murmured. Her eyes moved to the summerhouse curtain. She stepped closer. Her fingers touched the cord lightly. The knot sat twisted, not neat, not natural. Slack huffed. A curtain cord proves nothing. It hangs, it ties, people fiddle. Marple ignored him. She traced the cord downward. Her hand stopped at the latch. It gleamed faintly. She bent lower, her voice steady. This knot is no accident. It was placed to serve a trick. Haydock joined her, his brow furrowed. He leaned near the latch. Yes. The cord trails close. Could pull it, I think. Marple nodded. Exactly. From outside. A string passed under. Slack snorted. Impossible. Locked inside. Everyone saw. Boy said so. Marple's needle pointed. The gap under the door. Wide enough for twine. Enough to draw latch. Enough to feign impossibility. Tom Briggs crouched beside her. He peered at the wood. His voice rose. There. A piece. Look. Haydock stooped quickly. Between dust and flakes lay a fragment. Thin. Frayed. A shred of twine. He lifted it carefully, his voice grim. This is not accident. This is craft. Someone staged the lock. Lady Bantry gasped. Her hand pressed to her lips. You mean the door was never truly barred? Marple answered gently. Not barred. Only tricked. Closed to fool eyes, not hands. You spin fancies. A knot. A string. Anyone could leave twine about. You chase shadows. Haydock stood firm. No slack. This shows intent. A trick to delay discovery. Long enough for poison to act. Long enough for the body to cool. Sylvia Denham spoke suddenly, her voice cold. Stage tricks are common. We all know them. It does not prove who tied it. Claude shifted uneasily. His hands twitched. He would not meet her gaze. Marple's voice stayed calm. Stage tricks indeed. And some know them better than others, Tom whispered. I told you. I saw him practice with strings. The same motion. His eyes wide. Slack barked. Silence, boy. You imagine too much. But his tone wavered. His eyes narrowed at Claude. Claude stammered. I mend props. I keep cords. Nothing more. Innocent work. Marple studied him quietly, her face unreadable, her eyes full of memory. She turned back to the latch, her words soft. Locks can lie, but knots speak truth. This was no natural fastening. Haydock nodded, his tone grave. A locked room, made false. Crafted like a stage scene. Lady Bantry whispered. Jane, what do you think? Marple's lips pressed tight, her eyes steady. Her answer came slow. Marple said, a locked room, faked. Soap, not herbs. Marple said softly. Her hand hovered over the jug. She bent, sniffed. Lavender. Haydock bent beside her. He sniffed too. He straightened slowly, his face grim. Yes, lavender, not lemon. Marple touched the rim again. Residue clung. Her fingers rubbed it faintly. Same scent as the flakes. Claude Denham shifted uneasily. His eyes flickered. His voice cracked. I moved the jug earlier. To the table. Nothing more. Slack pounced. Moved it, eh? Why? No reason to shift a jug, Claude stammered. It was in the way. Children ran near it. I thought to keep it safe. Sylvia cut in quickly. He is careful. That is all. He protects the stall. Why must you twist his care? Mrs. Pierce gasped. Her hands trembled. My jug. My recipe. You accuse me first, then them. Who poisons at a fete? Who shames me like this? Marple spoke gently. No shame on you, Mrs. Pierce. The recipe true. The taste altered. Contamination came later. Haydock nodded firmly. I tested the glass. This is no simple bitterness. Nicotine poison. Strong. Fatal. Slack looked uneasy now. His hand rubbed his chin. Nicotine? From where? Marple's eyes moved to Claude, then to Sylvia. Her voice stayed calm. Garden sprays. Insect powders. Common in many homes. Common in sheds. Claude shook his head. Number, not mine. I never touched such things. Sylvia's voice cut hard. He tried to ruin us. She burst out. Her hand struck the table, her words sharp. The room fell still. Lady Bantry leaned closer. Who do you mean? Sylvia's eyes burned. Caro. He pressed Claude. He mocked him. He threatened us. He knew our debts. He said he would take what little we had. Claude tried to silence her. His hand lifted weakly, but her voice carried. Marple's eyes narrowed. A motive slipped free. Not just accident, not just chance. Conflict, pressure. Haydock's voice grave. So the poison covered more than illness. It silenced a man who pressed too hard. Slack scrawled in his notebook, his tone rough. Debts, pressure, land disputes. Always the same story. Always money under the surface. Tom Briggs looked uneasy. His eyes shifted from one face to another. He clutched his hands together. He said nothing. Mrs. Pierce whispered again. My jug. Turned into a weapon. Who would do such a thing? Marple folded her hands, her voice low. When pride is pressed, when fear grows heavy, even household things can kill. Soap, cord, lemonade, all twisted. Sylvia's chest heaved, her control cracked. She leaned forward. Her words burst sharp. He tried to ruin us, she cried. Another motive appears, Marple said. Her eyes moved toward Mr. Harrow. Slack looked up quickly. Harrow? What of him? Lady Bantry spoke softly. He quarrelled with Caro. Over land, over rights. Many heard it. Harrow flushed. He waved a hand. Words only. Nothing more. He wanted my fields. I told him no. Strong voices, that's all. Villagers muttered. One woman nodded. He shouted at the fete last week, loud enough for all to hear. Another added, he called Caro a thief, said he would ruin the village. Slack scribbled fast. Now that's a motive. Loud quarrels, public threats, easier to believe than soap flakes. His tone gained force. Claude Denham exhaled in relief. His shoulders eased. He looked smaller, almost grateful. Sylvia, too, relaxed slightly. Her eyes flicked toward Harrow. Harrow's face tightened. You twist it. I never touched him. I never touched that jug. Marple's gaze stayed steady, her voice calm. Words make smoke, but smoke does not always mark fire. Still, smoke blinds eyes. She bent again to the flakes on the floor. She traced one sock mark with her finger. Neat. Too neat. Not Tom's. Not Harrow's boots. A stage mark still. Haydock stood near her. Yes, poison killed. Not arguments. Still, suspicion must touch all hands. Slack's voice sharp. Caro pressed land from many. Harrow had reason. He fought with him. Lady Bantry shook her head. Rage is not poison. Rage throws words. Poison waits in glasses. Sylvia spoke coldly. At least you see another suspect. At least you know others had cause." Marple's eyes turned to her, her look firm, her words measured. Cause spreads wide, but only one set of hands tied knots. Only one parcel smelled of lavender. Tom Briggs stood silent. He edged near the table. His eyes lingered on the jug. He reached without thinking. Marple noticed too late. His hand lifted a glass. Drops of lemonade clung inside. He raised it to his lips. Haydock shouted, "Stop!" But Tom had already touched the rim. He sipped lightly. His face twisted. He spat at once. "Bitter!" he gasped. He wiped his mouth hard, his eyes wide with fear. Haydock grabbed the glass. He sniffed, his face pale. Still poisoned. Fresh residue. Slack's notebook dropped. He cursed under his breath. Someone tampered again, even after the death. Marple's eyes darkened, her voice low. A second hand moves, the crime not finished, the danger not past. Lady Bantry shivered. Her hand gripped Marple's arm, her whisper faint. "What kind of mind lingers by poison twice?" Marple's answer came slow. "A desperate one. Desperate minds repeat their crime." Tom's trembling hand dropped the glass, bitter drops spilling on the floor. "Another danger," Haydock muttered. He pulled the glass from Tom's hand, his eyes sharp. "Still poison. Still active." Tom shook badly. His lips quivered. "I didn't swallow. Only touched. Only a drop." His voice cracked. Lady Bantry steadied him, her hand firm on his shoulder. "You're safe, boy. You're safe." Slack seized the jug at once. He sniffed. He frowned. Still bitter. Still wrong. He shook it hard. Drops splashed the table. Marple leaned closer, her voice calm. "The rim carries new residue. Someone touched it after Caro's death." Haydock nodded grimly. "Yes. Poison freshly added. Not old. Not only once." A hand returned. To strengthen. To hide. Slack looked rattled. His notebook slipped. His face red. He barked, "Who stood near this jug? Who moved while we searched?" Villagers murmured. Eyes turned toward Claude, toward Sylvia, toward Harrow too. Suspicion spread like smoke. Claude's face went pale, his breath shallow. His fingers tugged at his coat. He said nothing. Sylvia glared. "Not us. Not him. Anyone had chance. The boy. The doctor. Even you, Inspector." Slack stiffened. His voice rose. "You dare accuse me?" But his eyes betrayed unease. Marple's gaze softened. She turned to Tom. "You would never risk your own mouth. Fear is too plain in you. Not your hand." Tom's eyes filled. "I swear, miss, I never touched it. I never poured again." Haydock shook the jug. "Still strong. Still fresh. This was poured minutes ago, while we all stood here." "That is bold," Lady Bantry whispered. "So the murderer is still among us. Not hiding. Still working." Marple folded her hands, her words even. "Desperation drives boldness. A careful crime grows careless when fear rises." Sylvia's lips pressed thin. Her nails bit her palm. Her voice cut. "You talk. In riddles. Speak plain. Who then?" Marple looked at her, her eyes steady. "My plain word waits. Truth shows itself in tremors." Claude flinched. He tried to stand tall, but his hands betrayed him. They twitched against his sides. They trembled uncontrollably. Slack noticed. His jaw clenched. He stepped closer. "Why do your hands shake, Claude?" Claude stammered. "Heat. Nerves. Nothing more." But his lips trembled too. Haydock's tone grave. "Poison does not tremble. Guilt does." Lady Bantry leaned near Marple, her whisper faint. "Jane, you see it too." Marple's voice low. "I see what he cannot hide." Claude's eyes darted. His feet shifted. His parcel slipped slightly. Soap flakes fell again. Claude's hands trembled beyond control. "Stagecraft revealed," Marple said quietly. Her eyes swept the summer house. She pointed to the latch. Flakes settled after it closed. They were placed, not carried. Someone dusted them here. She touched the cord. This cord pulled the latch from outside. A trick. A false lock. Simple, if practiced. Slack shifted uneasily. He rubbed his chin. You mean he never died in a locked room? Marple nodded. Not locked. Only staged. The door pretended shut. Anyone who knew strings could manage it. Haydock leaned forward, his voice grim. Then the flakes? The parcel? Marple turned to the table. The jug was moved beside the snow. Soap flakes scattered. They covered latch and shoes, so the scene looked impossible, but it was crafted. Claude swallowed hard, his eyes down, his hands clenched. Marple continued. Footprints, too. Men's shoes, women's boots, ribbed socks, all planted. Too neat, too even. False evidence, laid out. Tom's cheeks burned. I told you, miss, not mine. I never stamped my socks so neat. Marple gave him a small nod. Yes, boy, you told truth. Staged marks trapped you unfairly. Slack grunted. So the denims planted it all? Snow, knots, prints, tricks for the crowd? Sylvia's face stiffened, her lips pressed. She gave no words. Her silence answered enough. Haydock's gaze hardened. You had access. You kept props, flakes, sand, soap, all from your shed, all in your hands. Lady Bantry whispered. Jane, this is certain now. Marple folded her hands, her voice soft but firm. Yes, certain. Each piece fits. Each trick points the same way. Slack looked at Claude. Well, speak then. Deny if you dare. Claude's mouth opened. No words came at first. He licked his lips. He breathed shallow. Sylvia snapped at him. Say nothing. They twist it all. Claude shook his head weakly. His voice broke. I can't. Too much. Too close. Marple's eyes stayed on him. Her voice steady. Truth weighs more than props, and it breaks stage walls. Claude's shoulders sagged. He closed his eyes, his voice low, almost lost. He forced us, pressed debts, mocked us. He left no choice. Slack stepped forward. What do you mean? Speak plain. Claude's lips trembled. He whispered again. He forced us. We had no choice. His words hung heavy in the silence. Truth breaks, Marple said softly. All eyes turned to Claude. His shoulders shook. His knees bent. He collapsed onto the chair, his face pale, his hands limp. I did it, he muttered. His voice cracked. I rigged the latch, pulled it with cord, closed it from outside, made it seem locked. Slack leaned closer. Say it clear. No tricks now. Claude lifted his head. I tied the knots. I placed the flakes. I set the prints. I made the scene look impossible. Tom Briggs gasped. I told you I never did those marks. Marple gave him a slight nod. You spoke truth. You were framed. Haydock's tone firm. And the jug? Tell us of that. Claude's lips trembled. I poured it. I took insecticide from the shed, mixed it in the prude lemonade, covered the taste with white zest. Soap flakes masked the scent. Mrs. Pierce cried out. My jug, my recipe, ruined for murder. Lady Bantry steadied her, her hand gentle. Not your fault, twisted by others. Claude bowed his head. He drank it. He laughed first. Then he stilled. I shut the latch, spread the flakes, left him to be found. Sylvia stepped forward quickly, her voice sharp. Enough. Stop speaking. They will twist your words. Claude shook his head. No twisting needed. The truth stands. The motive clear. Debts crushed us. Caro pressed harder each week. He mocked me, threatened to seize everything. I snapped. Slack straightened. At last, a confession, no doubt remains. His tone held grim satisfaction. Haydock crossed his arms. Pressure breeds crime, but poison breeds guilt heavier still. Sylvia's eyes blazed. You cannot blame him alone. I stood with him. I helped tie the knots. I tied the parcel left-handed. I shielded him. Claude looked up sharply. No, Sylvia, not you. Only me. Leave her out. Marple's gaze softened. You both stand in this. One speaks, the other hides. Yet both played their part. Lady Bantry whispered, Jane, what mercy can there be? Marple answered quietly. Mercy lies not in words, only in truth spoken before it festers. Slack called to his constables. Take him. Keep her close too. We'll sort her share after. Claude sagged in their grip. He looked broken, his words spent. But Sylvia's chin remained high. Her hand clutched at her side. Marple's sharp eyes caught the movement. Her head tilted slightly. An envelope half hidden in Sylvia's palm. Not part of the scene. Not yet revealed. Marple noticed Sylvia gripping another envelope. Village shaken, Lady Bantry whispered. Her eyes followed the constable's. Claude walked between them, head low. His words, gone, his body weak. Sylvia followed close, her chin still, high, her eyes sharp, though chains held her arms. She said nothing. Mrs. Pierce stood near the table, her silver cup in her hands. Her voice trembled. Relieved, yes, but shame too. My cup used for poison, my drink turned weapon. Marple touched her arm gently. No fault in you. Your pride misused. That is all. Mrs. Pierce nodded faintly, her relief thin, her eyes wet. Tom Briggs stood apart, silent, his shoulders heavy. He looked at his socks, ashamed. I delayed. I doubted. I should have spoken sooner, he muttered. Marple shook her head. You feared, as any boy would, but truth found its way. Do not carry blame too long. Tom's eyes lifted. A small glimmer of ease showed. He nodded once. Harrow muttered nearby, his tone bitter. Caro brought it on himself. Pushed too far, mocked too much. No wonder someone struck back. Slack turned on him. Enough. Murder never justified. Your quarrels mean nothing now. Harrow spat to the ground. But he said no more. Lady Bantry moved closer to Marple. Her hand squeezed her friend's. You saved us again, Jane. Without you, truth would stay buried. Marple's smile was small, her eyes thoughtful. Truth never stays buried for long. It seeps out, through knots, flakes, and lies. Always it leaks through. Haydock closed his bag, his voice low. The body will be taken, cause recorded, nicotine confirmed, nothing else to add. Slack snapped his notebook shut. Confession stands, motive plain, case closed. But his tone lacked triumph. Marple glanced at him, her words quiet. Case is close, but truth lingers. It always leaks out, Inspector, always. Lady Bantry shivered. Her gaze drifted toward the empty summer-house. She whispered, And fear lingers too. The crowd broke slowly. Villagers whispered among themselves. Some pitied the Denims, some cursed them, some pitied Caro. But all felt the weight. Marple lingered behind, her hands folded, her eyes on the path, her thoughts quiet. At the vicarage later, calm returned, or seemed to. The kettle sang, the lamp glowed, but unease still clung. A rustle broke the silence. The letter slot moved. A white envelope slid to the floor. Marple bent, picked it up, her fingers careful, her eyes sharp. On the front, no name. Inside, one line only. Neat. Cold. Sorry for your loss. More deaths will follow. The condolence card lay open in Marple's hand. Fear lingers, Marple said softly. Her eyes moved around the quiet room. Lady Bantry sat stiff. Her fan lay untouched, her lips pressed thin. I cannot forget it. My fate turned into horror, my garden into scandal. Marple's hand touched hers. Time will soften it, yet memory stays. That is the nature of truth. Bantry sighed. Her eyes filled. You saved us from worse. Still, I feel unsettled. Fear shadows even safety now. Slack shifted in his chair, his brow damp. He cleared his throat. The case is solved. Confession stands. But still, I feel it unfinished. The card unsettles me. Marple nodded slowly. Unfinished things always trouble. They whisper of more to come. You sense it, Inspector, and you are right. Mrs. Pierce clutched her cup, her voice defensive. I said my lemonade was safe. Still they doubted me. Still they stared. My pride stained forever. Marple looked at her kindly. You were framed, not guilty. Pride bends, but it does not break. Your hands will still serve the village. Pierce's lips quivered. Her eyes softened. She whispered, Perhaps. Tom Briggs sat near the fire. He rubbed his hands together, his voice quiet. I nearly drank it. I nearly ended as he did. I still feel the taste. Marple's gaze moved to him, her tone calm. You were spared. Let that thought guide you. Life spared is life strengthened. Use it well. Tom nodded faintly, his eyes heavy with thought. I will remember. I will not forget, Harrow muttered from the back, his voice sour. He got what he deserved. Caro pressed too far. But still, it leaves a mark on us all. Slack snapped. Mind your words. No death is deserved. We judge the act, not the man. But his tone lacked strength. Marple rose slowly, her hands steady on her bag, her eyes calm. Remember this. Staging fool's eyes. Never conscience. Tricks unravel. Guilt seeps through. The room fell quiet, each face heavy with thought. Bantry restless. Slack, uneasy. Pierce, defensive. Tom thoughtful. Silence held them together. Marple's gaze turned to the small table. The envelope still lay there. White, plain. The card inside sharp in its message. Unsigned. She lifted it once more, her fingers light, her lips pressed thin. No name, no mark. Her voice carried softly. One crime solved. Yet another hand stirs. Fear lingers when names hide. Shadows walk when truth stays unsigned. Bantry shivered. Slack frowned. Pierce clutched her cup. Tom lowered his head. The room grew still again, but unease did not leave. It lingered with the card unsigned, hinting another hand in shadows.